field.
It's not really about knowing anything. It's about where to go to get the information.
He's unlocking ancient secrets and dropping knowledge bombs that will leave you stunned.
Even Tesla says that this is where he came to get the information.
From Nikola Tesla and where he took his knowledge from, to the mysterious device the Anunnaki wear on their wrists, to the real purpose of the pyramids and hidden technologies.
People were coming to this region for their information and their knowledge and their things that were forbidden. And these were the highest of human civilization.
Let's dive in and uncover what Cat has to share.
Holy sh!
Is this weed talk, Joseph?
No, this is so legit.
Cat Williams makes a compelling argument about the true sources of ancient wisdom, suggesting that the ruins of temples and churches were not merely places of worship, but pivotal centers of education and knowledge transmission.
If you were to read like thousands of books about people that knew a bunch of like you start finding out that it's not really about knowing anything. It's about where to go to get the information. So like when we look at all the ruins all around the world, like we're not seeing ruins of colleges and universities and all of that. We're seeing temples and synagogues and churches.
Historical research supports this view, as many ancient temples around the world, such as the Library of Ashurbanipal in Mesopotamia or the House of Life in ancient Egypt, were indeed centers of learning, storing vast collections of texts and serving as educational hubs where knowledge on various subjects,
killing some time right now,
agriculture and astronomy, was imparted. Yet, this brings us to a deeper, more enigmatic question. Where did this information originate? Indeed, priests and scholars of ancient times passed their knowledge on to others. But who were the original custodians of this wisdom? Who were the first teachers? This question probes the very roots of human understanding and civilization. Ancient myths often attribute this knowledge to divine sources or celestial beings. Consider the Sumerians, who credited their knowledge to the god Enki, or the Egyptians to Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. These figures are portrayed not merely as deities, but as pioneers of knowledge, who handed down essential information that formed the basis of these advanced societies. Such narratives, while steeped in mythology, may symbolize early humans' attempts to explain the acquisition of complex ideas and technologies that seemed beyond the reach of ordinary human ingenuity at the time.
100% of the writings across the world, whoever said anything about space or the universe or what was out there, why were all of them correct? It's not even possible. Like, how did they know that Mars was the red planet, and why was it a worldwide fact? Planetarily, that Saturn had rings, like, based upon what information? Because nobody worldwide is disagreeing.
Expanding on Cat's observations about cosmology, it's fascinating to consider the astronomical accuracy of ancient civilizations. For instance, the Dogon people of Mali have long been known for their detailed astronomical understanding, which includes knowledge of the Sirius star system that is remarkably precise. Scholars have debated how such precise knowledge could have been obtained without advanced technology. This aligns with Cat's suggestion that such detailed cosmic knowledge might have been imparted by advanced beings or through means not yet fully understood by modern science. Moreover, Cat points out the global consistency in ancient knowledge about planets like Mars and Saturn. This observation can be linked to ancient texts and artifacts. For example, the Sumerians, known as one of the first advanced civilizations, depicted planets in a way that remarkably aligns with modern astronomical data. The Babylonians, who inherited and expanded on Sumerian knowledge, had a sophisticated system of astronomy and could predict celestial events with great accuracy. These instances could suggest that ancient civilizations had...
And you'll notice that these musicians are heavily involved in the occult. And Cat Williams is one of them who has exposed this. And that's why I wanted to cover this, because in tonight's show, well, we're going to get into it in a little bit, but in tonight's show, we're going to show what's going on with the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, and a lot of things, and how it's all intertwined. And you guys are going to love this show tonight if you're into stuff other than just watching cops arrest people and stuff. This is more advanced. This is for my more high IQ audience.
Had access to a now lost compendium of astronomical knowledge. Or perhaps, as Kat implies, they were beneficiaries of knowledge from extraterrestrial visitors. This brings us to an intriguing theory supported by numerous proponents of the ancient astronaut theory, that knowledge of such precision and depth suggests a possible transmission from advanced, non-human
Probably,
sources.
Jeff.
This
Probably
theory,
portals.
while controversial, is bolstered by the uncanny alignment of ancient knowledge with modern scientific findings. Let's get back to Cat Williams and try to understand where he wants to take us.
Even Tesla says that this is where he came to get the information. But if you follow that information pathway, it leads you to this character called Thoth. And the emerald tablets of Thoth are literally mind-changing and mind-blowing.
Me too, Jeff.
The discussion between Cat Williams
Especially the
and
way it
Joe
ties
Rogan
into the
touches
illegal
upon the
immigration that's
intriguing
happening in
and
our country
mystical
right now, and all
emerald
the cover-ups
tablets
and lies by the
attributed
current
to Hermes
administration.
Trismegistus, a legendary figure blending aspects of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. The emerald tablet, also known as the Tabula Smaragdina, is a compact, cryptic text highly regarded in the fields of alchemy and Hermetic philosophy.
Yes,
The
it is
Emerald
great.
Tablet,
Very scary.
also
You're gonna
known by
find out
its
a
more
lot tonight,
arcane
too.
name, the
A
Tabula
lot more about the
Smaragdina,
lies
is
that
not
the
just any
administration is
ancient
telling us.
document. It is a
Using the news
portal to
media to
profound
cover for them.
truths and
Their
alchemical
friends in the
secrets.
press.
The origins of this compact and cryptic text are veiled in the mists of time, with the first known appearances in Arabic sources from the 8th or 9th century. Yet, its influence rippled through the centuries, captivating the minds of European alchemists during the medieval period when it was translated into Latin. The tablet's opening line, "As above, so below," resonates with an otherworldly wisdom, suggesting a deep correspondence between the heavens and the earth, the macrocosm and the microcosm. This principle of correspondence implies that by understanding the small, we can grasp the mysteries of the large, and vice versa. It beckons us to see the universe as a vast, interconnected web where each part reflects the whole. The content of the Emerald Tablet is a series of arcane aphorisms that hint at the processes of transformation and the unity of all existence. It speaks of the one thing, the primal substance from which all things emanate and to which all things return. This one thing is described as having the power to perfect the imperfect and transform the base into the sublime, a core tenet of alchemical practice. One of the more tantalizing passages reads, "Its father is the
Something is
sun,
constitutional
its
rights.
mother
Glad
the
you showed
moon.
up. Thanks for
The
coming.
wind carries it in
It's
its
gonna be a good show
belly.
tonight.
Its nurse is the earth." This allegorical language suggests a cosmic process involving celestial and terrestrial forces, a dance of elements that leads to the creation and transformation of matter. For alchemists, this was not merely about turning lead into gold, but about achieving spiritual enlightenment and unity with the divine. Cat Williams mentions the fascination that even Nikola Tesla, the visionary inventor, had with such esoteric texts. The idea that Tesla might have drawn inspiration from these hidden sources only adds to the tablet's allure. It hints at a wellspring
Tesla
of
said
advanced
this is where he got
knowledge,
it from.
couched in metaphor and symbol, accessible only to those who can decode its secrets. The Emerald Tablet is part of a larger body of work known as the Hermetica. These texts are divided into two main groups: the technical Hermetica, encompassing writings on astrology, alchemy, and magic, and the religio-philosophical Hermetica, which delves into mystical and philosophical discourses. Together, they form the foundation of
Sure
Hermeticism,
did miss
a
constitutional
tradition that has
rights.
influenced countless esoteric and mystical schools of thought. The tablet's mysterious
Glad,
power
Monica.
lies in its ability to inspire endless interpretation and speculation.
You know, one thing that's interesting about my shows, whenever I get into more of the spiritual parts of the reality that we live in, I get like 90% of my audience female. And whenever it's about police abuse and stuff like that, it's like 99% male, and I'll have a couple of females. So it's really interesting. But let's just keep watching this until I kick off the show starting around 5.
It suggests a hidden path to knowledge, a secret alchemical process that can transform the seeker both materially and spiritually. For those drawn to the occult and the mystical, The Emerald Tablet is a cipher waiting to be unraveled, promising profound insights and perhaps enlightenment.
It's given
Absolutely.
in first person, and that's not possible. The things that are being said are impossible. Enough time has passed, though, that it's not like that. He literally says, hey, there's a spaceship on Earth, and this is where it is.
Ever wondered what that necklace Cat Williams was wearing in all those super viral interviews actually signifies? It's not just a striking piece of jewelry. It holds a secret that ties back to ancient and mysterious origins. Cat Williams, in a moment of revelation, shared with Joe Rogan the fascinating story behind his unique necklace, dispelling common assumptions and diving into the realms of ancient lore and forgotten technologies.
This is that thing that you see that all the Anunnaki guys that have that look like a wristwatch, and they always have it, and you're always trying to see what
GVO,
that
good seeing you,
is.
What
brother.
is that?
It is a time, it's a compass. It's a time-keeping compass.
As Cat Williams and Joe Rogan peel back the
Kim.
layers of ancient
right, Kim.
mysteries, we are drawn further into the enigmatic world of the Anunnaki and their astonishing technologies. The Anunnaki, often depicted in ancient Mesopotamian carvings, are shrouded in intrigue. These deities, revered by the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, were said to have descended from the heavens, bringing with them unparalleled knowledge and advanced technologies. One of the most perplexing aspects of Anunnaki depictions is the enigmatic watch device frequently seen on their wrists. Scholars and enthusiasts alike have puzzled over this artifact, trying to decipher its true purpose. Was it merely symbolic, or did it serve a functional role far beyond our current understanding? Cat Williams suggests that this device was a timekeeping compass, a tool that combined the functions of a clock and a
What up, Race Gas?
navigation
Good seeing you.
instrument. Imagine possessing the ability to measure time precisely, while simultaneously navigating the vast landscapes with perfect accuracy. Such a device would have granted its bearer immense power and control, allowing them to traverse great distances and return unerringly. The Anunnaki themselves are cloaked in mystery. Ancient texts describe them as godlike beings who bestowed civilization upon humanity. They are credited with teaching the Sumerians advanced agricultural techniques, astronomy, mathematics, and even law. But who were they really? Some theories propose that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial visitors, beings from another world who brought their advanced knowledge to Earth. Others suggest they were highly advanced humans or demigods, their wisdom and technology remnants of a lost epoch.
Absolutely.
Numerous
Miss
ancient
Constitution
artifacts
rights.
support the existence of the Anunnaki and their technologies. Clay tablets, cylinder seals, and carvings depict these beings with
Mommy!
remarkable consistency. The watch device is one of the most intriguing elements, appearing in various forms and contexts.
Good seeing
Could
you,
this
man.
device have been a gift from the gods, a tool that enabled its users to manipulate time and space? Consider the ancient Sumerian king list, a chronicle that lists kings who reigned for impossibly long periods, spanning thousands of years. Some interpret this as evidence of the Anunnaki's influence, suggesting that these kings were, in fact, Anunnaki rulers who possessed longevity through advanced technology or knowledge.
That's right.
Cat Williams's necklace serves as a modern homage to these ancient devices, symbolizing.
So I'm going to go ahead and cut off Cat Williams because the show's getting ready to start now. I will save that video for you guys. I'll drop it in the description later on after the show. Tonight's show is going to be about a bunch of different stuff, but I'm going to show you the interconnectivity of the ultimate pursuit of power. And we saw the Nazis try to do the same thing where Hitler was trying to find the spear of destiny. He was sending his Nazi SS scientists into Tibet. And we're going to also see how it goes full circle, where one of the offspring of the Nazis, Klaus Schwab, together with his Edomite friends, started the World Economic Forum. And we're going to get into what they're doing and how the only thing standing in their way right now is 100% control of the media narrative. And in my view, if Elon Musk had not wrestled control of X from the radical Marxists who ran it previously, we would already be probably 10 times closer to their goal of a one world government and elimination of billions of people on the planet. And we'll see how that ties into Moloch and Baphomet and human sacrifice and the sacrifice of babies and satanic ritual sexual abuse, and how that's going on in Hollywood parties. And we're going to show its influence into even the police department, and how radical it has become. And we'll talk a little bit about Lucifer, and we'll talk about Lucias and how its foundation formed the United Nations, which is, I believe, the United Nations is Lucifer. It is a satanic organization. And I just believe that there is good and evil in this world, period. And if you deny the spiritual aspect of reality, you're crazy, because these people at the World Economic Forum don't deny it. They're minions in Hollywood. They're almost 100% control of the news media, and all these people in the press who go to these parties definitely believe it. And we know that they engage in ritual satanic stuff. We know that we've even had confirmation of Hollywood celebrities admitting that they drink each other's blood. And these all are satanic rituals designed to give themselves higher knowledge, or gnosis. And it comes from the Edomites primarily in their influence on this world. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit about this whistleblower who exposed the Biden administration flooding our country with illegal aliens. And obviously the reason why they want to do that is because they know that the US Census will allow them to create a single party system. They put approximately 20 to 30 million illegal aliens into the country. They lied about the Venezuelan gangs being released from prison, even though they knew that that was happening and they were flooding our country with them. They knew that that was happening. They lied about it. They lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. They knew that it was real. They got at least 30 or 40 CIA agents to lie as well, to say that they thought it was Russian disinformation. So there is a definite control over the masses. And we saw what happened to Alex Jones when he exposed Bohemian Grove. And then we saw later in undercover footage a CIA agent admitting that they targeted Alex Jones, and they worked with the court to get him convicted in that defamation claim, according to at least one CIA agent who was also a former FBI agent. And I covered that in one of my other videos. And we've seen how, when I started talking about this stuff, how my videos have been getting canceled and demonetized, even though I'm just reporting facts. So we know that clearly there is a demonic influence in this world, and they like to target children. And we know that Baphomet represented a male-female god. And we see now in California with the Safety Act that California public school teachers, who are also part of this, have been trying to convince little boys that they're girls and little girls that they're boys, trying to get them sterilized. And now there's a law that Gavin Newsom just signed called the Safety Act that allows teachers to keep the secret transitioning of their children secret from the parents. So when your boy shows up to school, they can slip him a dress. They'll start calling him a she and a girl a he, or whatever it might be. And so we're starting to see what's going on. And it's pretty amazing. It's pretty diabolical that parents now are being denied their rights. And then we'll get in at the end, we'll talk about how the World Economic Forum says we have no rights. There are no human rights. God is a myth, and AI and their new god of secular humanism should rule the world. And we've seen how they bought the politicians off, and they support communism, a one world government of communism, where they have their fascist elites at the top, and then they have everyone equal at the bottom. And then, of course, they want to put things into your body that can kill you, perhaps, definitely cause things like, thrombosis, myocarditis, spike proteins, all kinds of crazy things. And we know that they tried to hide that data for 75 years. And if it wasn't for lawyers like me, who do public records requests, you would have never even found that information out. So we know there is a grand conspiracy to brainwash young children and convince them that there is no God and that the only God is the state. And now what we'll do is we'll kick off my show the normal way that I do, and I'll get into my first video, and I'm going to show you the progression of what's been happening in the last 3 years, how satanic influences, in my opinion, have been at lightning rocket speed since this last election to move us into a one world satanic government. And first, we'll just kick it off with my wonderful...
To another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
And you know that's what they want to do. You know the thought police want to take down this channel. That's definitely something that they don't like. The thought police don't like it when you have an opinion that goes against the World Economic Forum or the single party state, Gavin Newsom. They hate that because they want to control the narrative. And what they'll do is they'll say that anyone who disagrees with them is engaged in disinformation. We just saw Broom Hillary the other day come out and say that she thinks people should be jailed who engage in misinformation, like the misinformation that she engaged in when she worked with Peter Strzok and I think her name was Barbara Page, to create a false narrative, a false dossier, and get false FISA warrants to surveil Carter Page. And we all know now that that was a total scam. The whole Russia thing was a complete joke. It was made up out of thin air. And that's what they do. They just create false narratives. And if you disagree, they'll say that you're engaged in misinformation. And so we know that they constantly have lied to us over the last several years about this illegal alien invasion of criminals flooding into our country, trying to have their way with our women. And we see that it's identical to what's been happening in Europe. And now we know that they're working with the Catholic Church and other tax-funded nonprofit organizations to flood our country every day with thousands of people. We have no idea who they are. We don't know if they've been fully VAX'd. We don't know if they have tuberculosis, which many of the Haitians have. We don't know if they're part of a voodoo cult religion. And when local residents in Springton, Ohio, testified before the local city council about it, about these pet eaters and cat eaters happening in their community, and when 911 calls came in from eyewitnesses saying that they saw these people trying to go after park ducks and geese, chopping off their heads, going after people's pets, running people over, we know that an ABC News reporter said that the city manager said that there's no valid information that any of this is happening. And of course, we know that the city manager, because of my help, we've discovered that the city manager, as well as the mayor of I think was it Silverton? Springfield. Yeah, in Springfield, they're eating your cats. They're eating that one. We know now that those guys actually own the apartment complexes and the factories that are employing these illegal alien foreign invaders who have now been placed on TPS, temporary protected status. So they're still here illegally. They're still illegal aliens, and they actually were flown here by the Biden administration into these cities, and they're working with the local politicians who are getting paid off to house, and since they have private interests in the housing, the apartment complexes, and in the factories, especially the housing, they're getting a premium now. And allegedly they kicked out local residents to house these Haitian immigrants who are living in these homes, 10 to 20 people per home, which violates allegedly the local housing codes even, but they're getting away with it and nothing's happening other than the prices are being raised up artificially by government subsidies for locals who want to rent homes. And so now we're going to get into a little bit more about what's going on. Right now, we found out today, as I knew all along, anybody who's a critical thinker, which I think are most of the people who follow my channel are critical thinkers. I think that we all knew that this is what was going on. We knew that they were flooding the country with illegals. We know one of the very first acts of President Biden was to reverse the former president's executive order that was called shelter in place. And what that meant was people who wanted to come into our country could come in a legal way and we would vet them. We would find out if they're a threat to our country, and then we would allow them in to immigrate legally, like our like our forefathers, like your mom and dad did if they came from Sweden, or for example. You have to take a test. You have to prove that you love your country, that you know about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. But we know that the current administration doesn't want people in the country coming here who support the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, as evidenced by the fact that they're trying to abolish, in my opinion, the First Amendment, or neutralize the First Amendment, as well as take away our Second Amendment rights to defend ourselves against these foreign invaders who we know nothing about. And so now a bombshell just exploded on the scene. And I'm going to share this with you. This is going to blow your mind. And there's a little bit of parody and comedy to it. Hopefully Gavin Newsom doesn't arrest me. You know that Gavin Newsom just passed a law in California today saying that if you engage in a political campaign, deep AI, even if it's a parody, apparently, that's illegal now and you can be jailed. So they call them deep fakes. And so this is just part of the whole thing, to silence people who disagree with what I believe is a Luciferian agenda to destroy us in our way of life. And here we go. We're going to kick it off.
Did you vote? Are you going to vote? Will you ask people that you know to vote, please? And will you ask them to vote for me? Thank you.
This should be absolutely huge breaking news on every single major network, not just across the United States of America, here in.
And you know that the traditional legacy media is the enemy of the American people by what they don't report. You probably won't see this get more than a few minutes on the Communist News Network, CNN, or PMS, NBC, or ABC especially, because we know that they're funded by the very same people who are supporting the destruction of our country. Let's keep going.
In our nation, but everywhere across the world, but you will not see this anywhere. This, my fellow Americans, is probably one of the most damning evidentiary confessions and testimony about the catastrophe that has become our southern border and our immigration policies over the last 4 years under Biden and now Kamala Harris I've ever witnessed. You absolutely need to share this. Tap the thumbs up to everybody you know. This is
put the link in the description for you.
Border Patrol
That's
Chief Aaron Heike, I hope
guys.
I'm saying that right, who says he was ordered to hide illegal aliens and what he terms SIAs, which are special interest aliens, from the media and cover up the border disaster,
Of course.
by the Biden-Harris administration. I promise you, this is worth your time. This is worth every second. Please watch this.
Chairman, distinguished members, thank you for this opportunity. The only true consequence we have to slow down and discourage people from coming into the United States illegally is sending them back to their country of origin. Throughout the first 3+ years of this administration, I saw a steady decrease in the countries we could send people back to. For the first time in my 25 years and under 5 different administrations, whether through neglect or on purpose, I saw a large-scale lapse in our ability to return people to their country of origin. The inability to send people home meant that most people being arrested for illegal entry would either have to be detained or released. The current administration, however, from day one, made a point of decreasing the amount of detention space available nationwide. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's funding for detention has steadily been cut and private detention eliminated.
Let's go, TVO.
The fact that so many illegal aliens...
The best way to support this channel in vertical mode, guys, is to double tap the screen. That'll give me some likes. And also save. There's a little save thing, like a little square thing. You save it to your favorites, into your channel, like your favorite videos. That really helps a lot. I need all the help I can get because we know that the thought police don't like this channel.
Are being released into the United States spread worldwide very quickly. As this happened, the numbers the Border Patrol encountered illegally crossing the border increased exponentially. The impact to me and my agents were significant. Sectors were ordered to take in and process all the illegal aliens encountered on the border. The Border Patrol saw groups of hundreds and thousands coming into the United States and turning themselves in. These numbers pulled 80, 90, sometimes 100% of the agents on duty away from the border. Border Patrol zones across Texas, Arizona, and California had no agent presence for weeks and months at a time. Those who did not want to be caught could simply walk in.
Thank you.
We have no idea who and what entered our country over this time. Throughout 2022 and 23, I sent agents to Texas and Arizona to count gotaways. Those sectors could not even put enough agents in the field to see what they'd missed. Simultaneously, in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests.
Wow.
The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border.
Oh my
That's what
God.
they do.
Fentanyl is another issue.
So remember this. They're accusing you of exactly what they're doing. When you expose their lies and corruption, they'll say, and they'll get their friends in the news media to say that you're engaged in misinformation. And they'll use their bought and paid for hard left fact checkers to also say that you engaged in misinformation. And on that basis, they will shadow ban your Facebook page or Instagram channel to where nobody can even see the activity in violation of section, I think it's 430 or 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Maybe it's 230, Communications Decency Act. They're violating U.S. law. And so far, judges have been upholding their ability to violate it. But there is now finally, I think Jason Fick finally got his case brought forth, and they're going to hear it now, where that's going to end. The Good Samaritan Clause and the publisher and a publisher are finally being recognized by these courts. And we may see the ability for the social media people who own these social sites to stop censoring illegally your information. You see, they're immune from being sued for defamation as long as they act neutrally, but they're not. They're acting politically. And we know that Zuckerberg with his Zuck bucks influenced an election before. So we know what's going on, but the problem is you're being accused of misinformation if you expose it. Here we go.
San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents.
Because they
To
want
make
to
matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis. Once these flights were stopped and the releases continued, California saw the true economic impact. I received calls from the governor's office, local mayors, and hospital administrators asking me if we could keep injured aliens in custody so the federal government would pay the medical bills. Through pressure from the administration, my headquarters became more interested in the fiction that being portrayed in the media and not at all concerned with reality.
That's right, Salty.
Each time we asked for help in dealing with a new issue, it fell on deaf ears.
Unbelievable.
At times in San Diego, we had 2,000 or more aliens sitting in between the fences asking to turn themselves in. I was told to move them out of sight of the media.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Border
Not that
Patrol
they've
agents are
reported.
continually forgotten and neglected by the media and this administration. These agents deal with death, women and children that have been raped, abused, trafficked, bought and sold, families that have spent months in terrible conditions, sickness, and despair. If you look at the dramatic rise in the number of suicides within the Border Patrol, it is directly correlated with the migrant surge. The agents have been pushed beyond their limit, and this has greatly impacted their physical and mental health.
Wow.
While current numbers of aliens crossing our border are lower in comparison in recent months, there's a reason for this. After nearly 4 years, this administration finally started to ask Mexico for help in slowing down the traffic through their country. This and other actions make a difference, but why has it taken so long? All of these tactics
election,
were being
that's
used
why.
before this administration took office.
Only
This
for election
administration
purposes.
stopped or greatly limited
Boom.
them.
That's the only reason.
I'm also
That's the only
concerned this will
reason.
not be
Right on,
maintained.
brother. I like this guy.
The problems we are facing at the border have solutions. These solutions
They think
can
we're
be quite
stupid.
simple and cost far less than the mess currently occupying so much time and money. The return to a policy of enforcing the law and returning illegal aliens to their home countries is required. Thank you.
Border Patrol agents are pushed to their maximum capacity where suicide rates are at the highest they've ever been amongst Border Patrol. I never even knew that. Fellow Americans, there's no other way to categorize this other than a word that I don't use lightly, and I understand the full gravity of what I'm about to say. This, my fellow Americans, as a nation, is treason.
That's exactly what it is.
There's no other way to describe
treason.
this. We knew they were flying them in. We knew that we had record-breaking, as the data and the analysis, me doing my own due diligence, qualitative and quantitative research, reflects. My state, my home state, California, record-breaking illegal border crossings, record-breaking, skyrocketing crime rates, smash and grabs, strange, bizarre assaults, muggings in neighborhoods that you would never, ever see this. Small businesses closing, etc., etc. He knew this was all happening. We knew it was happening.
Go to my office in downtown LA. They're illegals everywhere, homeless people shitting all over the street, tents everywhere. We have our government literally bringing in the Cloward Piven strategy right in front of our eyes. But the academics, the musicians, and the news media I believe, are possessed by demons. And that is why they're accepting it and gaslighting us when we talk about it. Let's keep going.
We know why it's happening. Now you have actual confirmation from an ex-border chief who loves his country. You can tell this guy's a patriot. You can tell he speaks the truth. He's speaking from his heart. This should break every single American's heart. This should be enough conclusive evidence.
If you have children,
vegetable and cheese,
Biden
behind bars and completely disbar.
Be well armed. That's all I can tell you.
Ban Kamala Harris, if not worse, from ever even thinking or being in the vicinity of seeking office in any capacity in our United States government. We know they want the votes. We know they're flooding these illegal immigrants into swing states so they can essentially form the uniparty, long-lasting, and sway the electorates.
And so far, almost every single blue state now, secretaries of state have been busted registering illegal aliens to vote. If you just do some research, if you do Google, you'll have to go to like page 50,000 to find it, because they bury all the true information and they just put all this nonsense, this World Economic Forum propaganda on the first several thousand pages for your search query. But there are ways to find the information. It is a fact. And we're going to keep going now.
Over the next 10, 20, 30, God knows how many years, we see what's happening in Aurora, Chicago, Portland, DC, Detroit with these migrants, Ohio, Springfield. Yes, they're eating the dogs. Yes, they're eating the pets. That's all been proven. And actually verified, even though David Muir from ABC and those terrible moderators fact-checked Kamala Harris goose egg 0 and went after Trump when he was right about everything.
He was.
We've got actual testimony from residents in these areas like Aurora, like Springfield, and others who are saying...
But the news media says that they're racists for saying this. By the way, remember, the Haitian country, their predominant religion is voodoo. And they're one of the poorest countries on the planet. They have an average IQ of, I believe, around 60. Why would you want to bring these people into your community? It just doesn't make any sense unless you want to destroy America.
We don't know what to do. I've shown you footage of city council meetings, town halls, where the residents are fed up. Who's going to protect us? You're here protecting these migrants, giving, not only are they letting them come across, not only are they throwing out the red carpet, terrorists. These are people who are actually unaliving American citizens. Laken Riley comes to mind, but Laken Riley is just one of tens of thousands, if not more.
Yep.
Those are only the documented ones.
That's
Everybody
right.
should be livid right now.
Living.
You got to share this with everybody you know. You have to tap that thumbs up, not for me, because you want to get our country back.
That's
when
right.
you tap the thumbs up, our video gets pushed out to more people.
By the way, this guy's a former academic. He's a former college professor, and he opted out because he was tired of cancel culture and wokeism. He believes, like I do, that wokeism is a satanic religion. It's a ritualistic satanic religion designed to gaslight people and destroy their sense of self.
Tap it right now. It's free. This is absurd. This is insane. This is treason. This is an absolute traitorous act to our citizens. They're willing to sacrifice American safety. They're willing to sacrifice U.S. cities.
Yes, they are.
They're willing to
doing
sacrifice
it.
you, me, at the drop of a hat.
That's right.
And for what? So they can retain power. What have I been telling you guys? For God
Oh,
knows
it's deeper than that, guys. And in this next video, you're going to see why.
how long, months and months and years and years. I know these people. I've worked with these people. I know Kamala. I know everything about her. I read her more perfectly than I have any other human being. If you could call her a human being, she cares about one thing and one thing only: power, and that's it. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't care about me. And I don't even think she even, not only does she not love America, I don't even think she likes America. Like most parasites,
We're
when
fathers
they
of communists.
infect their host, they suck all the energy, they suck all the sustenance, and then they move on to the next. I feel like if America wasn't the best opportunity for her to gain power, let's say Guam was,
I know.
she would drop America without even flinching and go to Guam.
Agreed.
She just wants power, like 99.99% of
They want low information, low IQ voters who are incapable of critical thinking. You'll notice that they're targeting Noticias and all the Hispanic stations with her ads, talking about how she's going to give them everything for free if they vote for her. And a lot of these people came up, as part of these caravans, and a lot of them are just peasants, and they just don't know any better. They've never had a proper education, and they just believe whatever the news media tells them. It's sad.
the whole entire Hippocrat, aka Democrat party. Oh, this just gets me so upset. It gets me so distressed. It gets me absolutely livid. My blood pressure, my blood is boiling right now. Please, I'm telling you, share this with everybody you know. This is not going to be taught. You're not going to see this on any major network. So please share this. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. So let me know in the comments what your thought. Are you as angry as I am? Or is this just like another run-of-the-mill move by the Hippocrats and we've just become so desensitized and used to this? I mean, am I the only one who's getting this upset? Let me know in the comments down below. I can't wait to hear.
So, okay, so this next video, this is going to be the one that really helps you understand what's really going on, in my opinion. We're going to learn about the Satanic and Luciferian origins of the United Nations. And this is, I believe this is something that everybody needs to watch. By the way, this is going to be a long show tonight, guys. So grab some chow, because you're going to get an education tonight that you would have never gotten from the Communist News Network or PMSNBC. Definitely not from your blue-haired, pink-haired, anti-American college professors. Let's get into it.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the African Exodus Show. I'm your host, Tony Cherie, here to you with a new video. Before we get started with today's show, just to remind you, if you have not added yourself to my Telegram and you would like to get notifications anytime that I post a video, you can add yourself to the group. It's a very easy app to download. Anytime I upload a video, I also post it to Telegram.
I saved
in addition,
her,
if you wish to support this
her
channel,
link in
you
my
can do so through
in the
Cash App, and you
description.
can
So
also
after the
do
show,
so
you'll be able to
subscribing
find her
my
link.
Patreon. There, I also post
Notice that
materials
she's a
I use in
Patreon
videos,
person.
such
She
as
doesn't even
today
want to
I'll be
monetize
posting
YouTube.
these
She already
PDFs
knows
also
what's up with
inside
Google.
of my Telegram.
She
So this
gets
is a
it.
weather forecast segment where we talk about biblical prophecy manifesting inside of the here and now. Last time we spoke about the beast system already being intact, which I felt like was important because many of us are not prepared for the reality that the enemies of Yah have been putting out plans to control our daily lives, control our food supply, our water supply, and use that control for leverage to make us do whatever it is that they want us to do.
That's the goal.
So something that I felt like was important to emphasize with this exact topic is the fact that the people who are in control of the international institutions, they're not people who they put themselves out there to be. They're not people who are agnostic to different religious faiths or religious systems, as many of them pretend to be. Some of them even might put themselves out there as being atheists. No, that's not the true reality of what is controlling our world system. In fact, one of the most important aspects for me to wake up and realize that all of this stuff is being planned and orchestrated literally by the hand of Lucifer is for me to realize that all of these people inside of high places are pointing to a similar philosophy and set of principles where Lucifer has actually put himself out there as being the light bearer, as being the one who is going to come and emancipate humanity.
That's it.
Thus, all of them really are Luciferians.
That's
So I
right.
wanted to get into the
Like P Diddy's
Luciferian
guys.
ideology, religion, whatever you want to
Entertainment,
call it,
news,
the
they're all
Luciferian
Luciferians. You're going to find out.
doctrine that has been indoctrinating so much of us. And I also want to show you that even if you are far from Luciferian and what you and how you think you look
By
at
the way, this is
world,
beet juice,
many
not
of
wine.
the ways that we've been taught and educated
I don't
through
drink
the
anymore,
education
guys.
system to view issues, to view problems, to view the solutions, you will find are literally informed from Luciferianism. So before we get into that, I want to actually talk about this organization known as Lucis Trust. I want to get into this because I want you to understand that
Trust.
the United Nations is literally being controlled by Luciferians.
That's right.
And Lucis Trust is an organization that has been there putting out the Luciferian ideology literally with the cosign of the United Nations. In fact, Lucis Trust, it had to change its name. Its old name was actually Lucifer Trust. So let's talk about this organization. The Lucis Trust was
Really quick, before we get into the Lucis Trust, I'm going to rewind it a little bit. I want to thank all my mods because you're going to find out tonight, guys, that we're going to be inundated with demons that are going to be coming into this chat. They're going to be making all these negative comments, and they're the same way they did with Jesus, basically attacking us, saying all these negative things. They're demons. They're not even trolls. You're going to see a lot of demons coming in tonight. So I'm asking all my moderators to be on the lookout. Just go ahead and nuke them. We don't need them here. All they are is demons, and they have nothing to offer but just hell and evil. So let's keep going.
Are literally informed from Luciferianism. So before we get into that, I want to actually talk about this organization known as Lucis Trust. I want to get into this because I want you to understand that the United Nations is literally being controlled by Luciferians.
Absolutely.
And Lucis Trust is an organization that has been there putting out the Luciferian ideology literally with the cosign of the United Nations. In fact, Lucis Trust, it had to change its name. Its old name was actually Lucifer Trust. So let's talk about this organization.
They tell
the
you.
Lucis Trust was established by Alice and Foster.
So part of Satanism, by the way, guys, and we'll roll it back again because I want you guys to see this again. Part of Satanism and the Luciferian religion is almost like Count Dracula. You have to invite them in. So they announce their presence. And if you allow them in, then that's on you, because that's part of committing yourself and turning your soul over to the devil. That's what it is. Historically, that's what it's always been. Let's keep going.
And how you think you look at the world. Many of the ways that we've been taught and educated through the education system to view issues, to view problems, to view the solutions, you will find are literally informed from Luciferianism. So before we get into that, I want to actually talk about this organization known as Lucis Trust.
Thanks, what's the matter,
you?
I appreciate it, brother.
I want you to understand that the United Nations is literally being controlled by Luciferians. And Lucis Trust is an organization that has been there putting out the Luciferian ideology literally with the cosign of the United Nations. In fact, Lucis Trust, it had to change its name. Its old name was actually Lucifer Trust. So let's talk about this organization. The Lucis Trust was established by Alice and Foster Bailey as a vehicle to foster recognition of the universal spiritual principles at the heart of all work to build right relations. The trust was incorporated in the state of New Jersey, USA, on April 5th, 1922. A separate limited company, Lucis Trust Ltd., was established as an educational charity incorporated in the United Kingdom in 1935. And in 1951, Lucis Trust was established as a legal entity in Switzerland with an office in Geneva. Now, the relevance of that is that Geneva is literally the place where human rights ideologies get pushed the most. And so they're right there in Geneva, and they're also right there in the United States. A publishing company, initially named Lucifer Publishing Company, was established by Alice and Foster Bailey in the state of New York, or state of New Jersey, USA, in May 1922 to publish the book, Initiation, Human, and Solar. The ancient myth of Lucifer refers to the angel who brought light into the world, and it assumed that the name was applied to the publishing company in honor of the journal, which has been edited for a number of years by Theosophical founder H.P. Levinsky. It soon became clear to Bailey that some Christian groups have traditionally mistakenly identified Lucifer with Satan, and for this reason, the company has changed to the Lucius Publishing Company. Now, what's important to emphasize here, Helena Blavatsky, who is a Russian occultist, very famous. We're going to talk a little bit about her some more. So this all comes from her original publishing company, the Lucifer Publishing Company. Now, they said, well, it's assumed that we're talking about Satan when we talk about Lucifer, but Luciferians are very notorious for this. They try to many times distinguish Lucifer from Satan and have a whole philosophy backing it where they are saying essentially, Lucifer is not an enemy. Lucifer instead is the light that is shined and the light that illuminates our understanding and brings us into knowledge into the world. So they have created a different personification of the same Lucifer in the Bible, but they try to distinguish him from our biblical-based understanding that there is an enemy, a prince of this world, who is trying to devour us like a roaring lion, right? They try to differentiate Lucifer from Satan. So let's get into a little bit more about the Lucis Trust and their relationship to the United Nations. So they have this organizational, this aspect of the organization called the Goodwill. And through that, World Goodwill, and through that, they actually offer many services to the United Nations, and they also are consultants to the United Nations. Their office is literally based at the United Nations Plaza. So this organization wields a really strong influence on the direction the organization takes. Now listen to this. It says, the Lucis Trust has had consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, and the World Goodwill is recognized by the Department of Global Communications at the United Nations.
Consultative status.
Is a non-governmental organization or an NGO. As such, the Trust and the World Goodwill are part of a community of hundreds of NGOs that play an active...
And the UN also has a satanic temple where you can go and worship Lucifer. A lot of people don't know about that. Think about that, guys. You're paying for that with your tax dollars in New York.
...role in the United Nations, particularly in spreading information about the UN and fostering support for UN programs. Since their inception, Lucis Trust and the World Goodwill have given their support through meditation, educational materials, and seminars by highlighting the importance of the UN's goals and activities as they represent the voice of the peoples and nations of the world. So highly relevant, their operation inside of the United Nations. Again, they're a guiding force to the United Nations. And as we spoke last time, the United Nations puts out these development goals that they're going to achieve, and they're going to do so all for humanity. Lucis Trust is right there consulting them, giving them the direction and spiritual direction when you hear meditation and things like that, which is obvious because Helena Blavatsky, again, famous occultist. Meditation, seances, all of these were things that were very much a part of her world that her followers are also bringing into this institution of the United Nations.
Right.
So I want that to be a foundation for you to understand. Luciferians are behind major organizations, and some of them will call themselves Luciferian, not feeling afraid. Many of them have mastered Luciferian ideology inside of different ideologies, some of which we're going to explore today. First of all, when someone says they're Luciferian, what are they saying? So this is from Learn Religions. They say Luciferianism is not a defined religion, but rather a belief in a system that admires and venerates the characteristics and personality traits exhibited by Lucifer as represented in the literature in various books of the Hebrew Bible.
That's right.
Although Luciferianism is often confused with Satanism,
very impressed,
due to the fact that Satan is defined as a fallen Lucifer, in reality, Luciferians do not worship Satan in any way, and instead model themselves after the original Lucifer, a character of enlightenment, independence, and progressiveness. Now, let me emphasize Luciferian mindsets, ideologies, the celebration of Lucifer, far from new. It's ancient. It's been here literally since the fall of man. There has been an effort to rehabilitate Lucifer as being a redeemer, a savior of people. And again, one that many of you would probably not have noticed, that you have also been bred the same philosophy and the same understanding. Not necessarily you being told Lucifer should be redeemed, but all of the principles that are pushed in Luciferianism being normalized to you,
That's true,
it's something
Monica.
that has been here since ancient times. So I want to read from an article from Philip D. Collins, who goes into a lot of detail about the Luciferian agenda, particularly in the realm of science and technology. I'm just going to read an excerpt from his article. It says, Luciferianism is the product of religious engineering, which sociologist William Sims Bainbridge defines as the conscious, systematic, skilled creation of a new religion. In actuality, this is a tradition that even precedes Bainbridge. It has been a practice of Freemasonry for years. It has also been a practice of Masonry's religious and philosophical progenitors, the ancient mystery cults. The inner doctrines of the Mesopotamian secret societies provided the theological foundations for the Christian and Judaic heresies, Kabbalism, and Gnosticism. All modern Luciferian philosophy finds scientific legitimacy in the Gnostic myth of Darwinism. As evolutionary thought was popularized, variants of Luciferianism were popularized along with it, particularly in the form of secular humanism, which shall be examined shortly. A historical corollary of this popularization has been the rise of several cults and mass movements, exemplified by the various mystical sects and gurus of the 60s counterculture. The metastasis of Luciferian thinking continues to this very day. So let's not let that be lost. The mystery schools that we've spoken about many times, particularly in the segment Come Out of Christianity, because these same mystery schools literally infused with Christianity. The mystery schools were progenitors of this idea because they were the sacred keepers of truth and knowledge. You know, they were said to have been given the knowledge directly from the original light bearer. So these people are saying that, yes, we regard this truth, this idea that knowledge and pursuit of enlightenment is the goal of all mankind. And famously, again, Freemasonry, you won't hear most Freemasons say this, particularly the higher degrees, but the higher you go up the Freemasonry ranks, the closer you get to the knowledge of the fact that the supreme architect, I believe that's what they call him, or supreme builder that is celebrated inside of Freemasonry is actually Lucifer. So even in Freemasonry, even inside of the mystic cults, all of these ancient societies had an understanding of reverence towards Lucifer. Now, I know you're probably thinking what I was thinking when I first heard this. Why? I mean, why would you have a reverence for the head demon, you know, the one who literally made man turn against Yah, put man in rebellion against Yah? Why would you have any reverence for him? And it's an interesting, sick twist on ideology, I think, but it's one that you can kind of grasp because, again, we've been spoon-fed it so many times, in so many ways. This idea of reason and logic, this idea of the pursuit of knowledge, this idea that our ultimate goal inside of life is the pursuit of knowledge of all, the good and the bad, right? The things that are sanctioned by Yah and things that have not been sanctioned by Yah. So this idea of the pursuit of knowledge and reason and thinking and all these things is something that we have not necessarily connected to the fact that all of these are being pushed by the Luciferian agenda as being positive things that Lucifer was just offering to humanity. Hey, do you want to be like animals that don't have a knowledge, or do you want to have knowledge of good and evil? Well, if you want to have knowledge of good and evil, you'll be just like gods, right? And that's something else that comes out of the Luciferian ideology. You'll be like gods. You'll be able to reach that level, a higher level of humanity.
Everybody congratulate Rami. He's been officially promoted to a moderator as of just a second ago.
Humanity, you'll be superior, right? So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being like gods? That's how they understand Lucifer. He was offering them knowledge and the ability to be like gods. So going on, it says Luciferianism represents a radical reevaluation of humanity's ageless adversary, Satan. It is the ultimate inversion of good and evil. The formula for this inversion is reflected by the narrative paradigm of the Gnostic hypostasis myth. As opposed to the original biblical version, the Gnostic account represents a reevaluation of the Hebraic story of the first man's temptation, the desire of mere men to be as gods by partaking in the tree of knowledge
Templars
of
were
good and
Gnostics.
evil. Like the hypostasis, the binary opposition to Luciferian mythology caricatures Jehovah, or we know Yahuwah is the correct term, as the oppressive tyrant. He becomes an archon of arrogance, the embodiment of ignorance and religious superstition. We rebuke that, obviously, in Yahushua's name. Satan, who retains his heavenly title of Lucifer, is the liberator of humanity. Masonry, which acts as a contemporary retainer for the ancient mystery religion, reconceptualizes Satan in a similar fashion. Lucifer represents life through progress, civilization, liberty, independence. Lucifer is the logos, the serpent, and the savior. That is a quote from Helen P. Blavatsky. So let me emphasize this particularly about the complete inversion, really, of the truth, right? Yahuwah creates man for a certain role. First of all, our role is dependence on him. And that's one thing that Luciferians, as people who want to highlight and celebrate humanity separate from Yah, that's something that they rebel against. The fact that Yah literally created us to be dependent on him. And he also created us, obviously, to need each other. But specifically, Adam depended on Yahuwah. If you think about the state of nature that existed inside of the Garden of Eden, where literally Adam did not have to work hard to till the ground in order to receive the fruits, right? He did not have to labor hard. Yah created a system that worked so succinctly for man, who depended on him, who depended on his knowledge, who depended on his creation and creativity. And Luciferianism says, no, why would you want to depend on God? You can depend on yourself. You yourself can be a God. You yourself can do for yourself, right? That whole self-reliance, whole mindset, which is why I used to say self-reliance for myself, but now I say Yah reliant, because I understand that my ultimate fulfillment as a person is literally in the realization that I am completely reliant on Yahuwah. Something that goes completely contrary to what we're being taught and bred through this system. They want us to think that life without Yah is fulfilling. Life without religion, life without faith, all of these things are taking away for a quality of life. That's what they'll tell us.
Right. As you get addicted to alcohol and drugs and have your way with lots of different partners, and you're miserable and you're dying of cancer and you're just destroyed, trying to figure out what was the whole purpose of life on your death's bed, right? That's what they want.
No, truly, you find your true self living by Yahuwah, living by his ways, walking by his ways, following his ways, allowing him to be God and allowing you to be his child, his servant, his progenitor of truth, allowing him to be God and allowing yourself to be the recipient. That is really where you find your ultimate purpose. And absent from that, divorced from that, you'll never feel your true fulfillment as a person. But again, Luciferians, they contradict that completely. Let me read another quote from a Luciferian, another famous one, Albert Pike, who was a Confederate general, if I'm not mistaken, a high, I believe, 33-degree Mason. He said, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give the spirit of darkness. He said, Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light, and with it splendor intolerable, blind, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. That's inside of Morals and Dogma of Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite. And also Manly P. Hall, another famous Freemason, he says, when the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hand, and before he may step onward and upward, he must prove his ability to properly apply energy. So I'm going to read from this PDF that talks about the principles of Luciferianism. The reason is I want you to understand how this has literally been bred to us through television programming, through education, the education system, in very sublime ways that you might not catch on to off guard. So let's just read one section. It says, who is Lucifer? He's an illuminated being who chooses rather than idolizes. who chooses rather than idolizes. It says Luciferianism is about seeking knowledge from both within and without. While many practitioners do recognize Lucifer as an actual being, they envision him quite differently than Christians do. And they are in no way dependent on him in the same way that followers of other religions regard their key figures. So think about how important that aspect is. Having a God, lowercase g, that you're not dependent on, feeling like you don't depend on anyone, that you can depend on yourself. Again, self-reliance philosophy that completely spits in the face of everything that Yah told us about.
You know, and again, guys, you know, I'm not a follower of her particular philosophy 100%. I do believe in self-reliance. I am a Marine, and I know that you have to be self-reliant. I believe that God commands us to help ourselves and take care of ourselves, but have faith that the Lord will be there to help us. There's some problems with her philosophy. I'm not a really religious guy. I'm a Christian soldier, I guess. I mean, I would definitely fight for your right to have your religion and to have your personal freedom. I don't believe we should have people in our country who are part of religions who believe in jihad and the overthrow of the system that we created, which is a constitutional republic.
How we are to regard him. Read this part right here. It says, accept and glorify primordial carnal nature. It says humans are both rational and physical, according to Luciferianism. One should not be ignored or denigrated in order to prioritize the other, and neither impulse should be denied as corrupt or sinful. Luciferians accept and delight in the so-called pleasures of the flesh, meaning we are going to completely celebrate the flesh, celebrate the sinful nature, the carnal nature.
That's right.
The one that puts us in rebellion against Yah. Instead of demonizing, instead of trying to distance ourselves from it, we're going to celebrate it.
And that's what I wanted. That's where we're going to stop with her video, because I have a lot more to share with you, but that's what I wanted to get clear to you guys. That's about 20 minutes in. The video is shared in the description of this video. I encourage you to watch it and like and subscribe to her channel as well. So like Anton LaVey's Church of Satan, it teaches you to engage in carnal activities and self-destructive behavior. That's the problem with the self-worship, Satanism, and Luciferianism. And that's why when you run across people who support this, like people who are trying to change their gender or whatever, like Baphomet, you'll see that they're miserable. In fact, most of the mass shootings in the last few years have been by people who are hopped up on male or female steroids, guys who think they're girls and girls who think they're guys, because they were not born in that. You were created the way you are. And if you try to change yourself with chemicals, it's going to screw you up and make you miserable, because it's unnatural. It goes against nature. And I believe that is the goal of the World Economic Forum and people like Bill Gates, to try to transform you into a miserable person like they are. If you look at these people, they all look miserable. They're extremely rich, multi-billionaires with too much time on their hand, chasing little kids around for their carnal pleasure. And I believe that they get some kind of a spiritual boost from it, they think. Now, let's look at, because you guys know I'm a cop watcher, so let's take a look at what this guy says about cops. It's going to blow your freaking mind.
Phil, and tonight we need to talk about something serious. As you probably know from my prior videos, I was a police officer in Southern California for almost a decade. I've spoken at length about my problems with police training, police accountability, police brutality, prison slavery, carceral psychiatry, and America's obsession with punishment and cruelty. I revealed troubling things that I saw and did on duty in an attempt to help people understand law enforcement better and to encourage people to be more critical of policing in general. Even if you're not a full police abolitionist like myself, I hope the things that I've brought up on this channel have given you a more well-rounded understanding of the role that police play in society. But there's something I've never talked about on this channel before. Something that I've agonized about bringing up because I'm afraid of what the reaction would be. And not only reactions from you, the audience, but reactions from the law enforcement community.
Me too, Rami.
There are certain things that cops know not to talk about openly. And while my channel has never pulled punches towards cops, there are just...
One of the reasons why I encourage all of you people to study law, and I encourage you to try and become lawyers, is because it will help you become a good researcher. My research is impeccable. I was an appellate lawyer. I've done all kinds of different law, but the ability to do research and find all this information is something that I'm really good at. And I'm really grateful that you all showed up, especially my mods. Thank you guys for showing up. I really feel blessed to have you. I have some really great material, and I hope you guys are enjoying what I'm sharing with you. I do this at my own expense. Sometimes I get some super chats, or you guys throw a bone at me, and I do appreciate that. You buy some memberships. That does help me encourage my wife to let me do this, because obviously she wants me tutoring the kids and taking my son to judo, but she'll trade off with me because she knows that in my heart, I've been called to try to help other people understand their rights in the law and mean to keep it well. Here we go.
Some lines that I'm hesitant to cross for my own safety. But recently I've had an influx of new subscribers thanks to a couple of my most recent police videos. And while I'm really nervous to talk about this, seeing so many new subscribers flocking to this channel, yearning to know more about their local police department.
Links in the description.
I'm just feeling really convicted.
Like, double tap
I
the
owe
screen.
the
Give me some
audience
likes,
this truth.
guys.
So here goes. What if I told you that in the United States, for the last 100 years, across many hundreds of police departments, there is a cult operating behind the scenes? What if I told you that thousands of American police officers have taken secret oaths and participated in occult rituals, including group sex magic? What if I told you that before I left law enforcement, I was being recruited by an older mentor to join this group and help guide police culture from the shadows? And what if I told you that all of this was done in service of Baphomet, an androgynous devil-like figure worshipped for centuries by pagans and occultists? If you're hearing me say that and you're thinking, I just don't know if I can believe that, I just have one thing to say to you. Good for you. Don't believe everything you hear on fucking YouTube. No, there is no cult of Baphomet in modern police departments. Yes, I was just doing a bit. Why? Was it just to waste your time? Actually, no, I do have something important that I want to talk about. I just tend to follow the maxim, why say it normal if you can say it weird? Here's the thing. My channel's big break was Thought Slime sharing my first police abolition video during the 2020 George Floyd protests. People were tickled by the idea that a former cop could become a police abolitionist, and it generated a ton of buzz, as did an anonymous Medium article I wrote before I was ready to out myself as an ex-cop. For weeks after, I got hundreds of new comments every day saying, thank you for exposing this stuff for us civilians. Your insight is really compelling. Yeah. Or, I always knew cops were corrupt and your video finally proved me right. Stuff like that. I got invited onto people's streams and their podcasts and their YouTube channels and their fundraisers. I've even been approached to consult on 2 different books. Other than a few joyless mopes mumbling about how I still deserve the wall, I was welcomed warmly into the online left, and I was vouched for by other creators that I really admired. So let me share this fun little statistic with you. Out of the 100 or so collaborations that I've done with other creators, how many do you think vetted my claim that I'm a former police officer? How many do you think asked for any kind of proof? The answer is 1. The fine folks of the Occulte Veritatis podcast are the only people I can remember who asked to see some actual verification, which I did provide. Everyone else just believed me.
Yep.
Now, my audience isn't a bunch of gullible Facebook boomers falling for gift card scams. They skew young and tech savvy. So why on earth did many thousands of people just instantly believe some dude who popped up out of nowhere with a mic and a camera? You can probably already guess the answer, but I'm going to delay the punchline and tell you a little story from my childhood. Because why say it normal if you can say it weird? I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian household. My childhood churches had no instrumental music, no women in positions of authority, and very, very strong opinions about stuff like Dungeons and Dragons or heavy metal albums. The Christians that I grew up with were worried about stuff like spiritual warfare and the end times. They were worried that New Age crystal people could actually open you up to demonic influence. And they were very worried about the existence of secret satanic cults hiding in the shadows of our most important institutions like schools and government. One day in my early teens, I found myself at a Christian bookstore fiddling with a rack of little rectangular comic-looking booklets. Some of you already know what I'm talking about. Jack Chick tracts. For the curious Christian, Jack Chick was your go-to guide on how D&D can lead to suicide, how gay people are all sexual predators, how Muslims worship a moon god, and things like that. What caught my eye that day was a little pamphlet about Freemasonry, I'd always heard about Masons and little rumors about secret societies, but I didn't know anything concrete about it. Luckily, Jack Chick was there to let me know that Freemasonry was a thinly veiled cover for a satanic cult who worshipped Baphomet. I bought the booklet, I read it many times. I even logged into AOL on the family computer to research the claims. And would you believe it? There were actual ex-Masons with GeoCities-ass web pages dedicated to documenting the supreme evil happening in Freemason temples all over America. They gave away all the secrets, the secret code names, the secret handshakes, the secret rituals. These former Masons provided an invaluable resource for helping the discerning Christian understand their world better. Except, nah, they didn't. The vast majority of ex-Mason tells all content is nonsense. It's just bog standard conspiracy goulash with a dash of satanic panic and a pinch of anti-Semitism. It's barely changed over the last 300 years. Like any insular organization, of course Masons have done stuff like getting friends out of trouble or doing sweetheart business deals, but all the stuff about Baphomet and blood sacrifices is total fiction. And I remember the day that I was at a sleepover with a friend and I told him what I'd learned about the Masons. And he got really serious and he said, you know, my dad and my grandpa are both Masons and we've been involved with the local lodge for my entire life. None of that stuff is.
Anyways, the point is this guy's a retired cop and he's flipping the script. You get the idea. There is actually evidence that they do this stuff, and we're going to get into this in another video, but I just think it's kind of hilarious. He sort of confirms everything that you guys say about cops. Let's get into the next one. This is going to really blow your mind, guys. This is what we're talking about. Puff Daddy finally gets caught, and what he's caught doing is what amounts to satanic ritual abuse, sex abuse. And these parties that he had, the same people who are flooding our country with illegal aliens, the same people who support the World Economic Forum, they're all at his parties. Lock, stock, and barrel. Oprah, Obama, I mean, you name it. All of the newscasters, ABC, CBS, CNN, anybody who's anybody in the far left are hanging out at his parties. Let's listen to this.
Diddy's everything but a mentor. Now, he's a groomer
You
who
get the
groomed
sound
Usher
going
and
right here.
ultimately Justin Bieber. Now, well known for his wild parties, the minors are not left out either.
Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bro, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember, Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do you right when you was at Diddy camp.
Diddy camp.
Y'all put it together.
And what you mean by Diddy camp?
Remember? He was on one of the talk shows, the white guy with the curly hair. What's his name? The white guy with the curly hair. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp. But yet and still you praise him.
Damn, man. And you said that, I know you can't go into detail, but you said that it was a situation where Diddy sent him to the hospital?
Let Usher explain that to you. Let Usher mama explain that to you. And the hospital was in Scarsdale, New York.
Now that's one damning revelation. Unsurprisingly, Gene was right about Usher covering for Diddy. In an interview, Usher vividly recalled wild times while living with Diddy. Now his demeanor showed that he's deep into it and wouldn't reveal more than necessary.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to
City. something
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. It was
Now, ever since Epstein Island, you've seen a massive push to normalize pedophilia in the school system by our politicians, guys like Chuck Schumer, and a lot of these just people who I think are just horrible people pushing to legalize and normalize relations between adults and kids. Why do you guys think that is? Because once it's legalized, you can no longer pursue them. The FBI can only hide that video for so long. That's what the push is, in my opinion. As a lawyer, I'm telling you, I think that this big push, this new K through 12 sexualization of school children by the public school teachers who are lock, stock, and barrel, all in for the far left. That's what's going on, in my opinion. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. That's why they're trying to normalize relations between adults and kids, because they're terrified that they got caught.
Somebody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
I
had
mean,
like,
he's admitting that these adults, at the very minimum, contributed to the delinquency of a minor. And in California, they lowered the legal age so males could sodomize young boys. I don't know if you guys know that. Thanks to Scott Wiener, a San Francisco politician, wanted to make sure that older men could ball little boys and not face the consequences. And of course, Gavin Newsom went ahead and signed that legislation. Another reason why parents are fleeing California, why I fled California. Now I have to commute or fly to California for court or trial. It's really sad, but if you love your children, you're not going to allow them to stay in a lion's den.
What
like
a
living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
Now, he wouldn't send his kid, but he brought Justin Bieber in. And like the groomer Diddy is, it was Justin's turn. He was exposed to a lot of drinking as a teen, and people believed that he was raped multiple times at this party, too.
Welcome to the family, John.
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16,
Can you believe this?
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come in LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come in LA, it's a little dusty, but come get the front shot of this. Man.
He's destroyed.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16.
Now, Justin might have gone through
Not
lots
even
of
of
traumatic
legal age.
experiences with Diddy. Many speculate that he got out and distanced himself, which led to an awkward meeting the next time they, as it's called, did a number on Usher. He used to take 14-year-old Usher to wild parties, introducing him to a life of debauchery at such a young age. In a now-deleted live stream, Diddy slipped up and said he and Usher used to sleep together. Now, Puff tried to play it off and claimed that they wrestled over Frosted Flakes.
You know, Puff is making jokes about how they used to wrestle for the Frosted Flakes in the morning. And
Yeah, I bet they did.
you know,
Somebody frosted somebody frosted somebody flakes. Without the milk.
what do you think it is that keeps Usher from coming out or saying anything?
Because, yo, dog, it's you got to realize in that industry, a lot of people
sell your soul to the devil.
Or stand back and say, well, it happened to me. That's how some of them people pay their dues.
That's it. Bingo.
And the
Harvey
people
Weinstein.
who don't go down like that don't be as great as the Ushers, as the Diddys.
Thanks, Miss Constitutional Rights. Appreciate it.
It's a way of passage to certain people in the entertainment business.
With all these people coming out against Diddy, do you
Now,
think
I do have friends in the entertainment industry, and I have been to some parties that are kind of like this, and I can tell you that this is just normal. You know, you got to sell yourself to the devil, sell your soul to the devil, get dirty along with all of them, so everybody has dirt on each other. That's how they do it.
think more people are going to come out?
It's a lot of people that, you got to realize is that everybody think, oh, everybody's coming out now. It's a lot of people that wanted to bring stuff out long time ago, but the lawyers wouldn't take it.
Yep.
The lawyers wouldn't deal with it.
Won't touch it.
Cassie opened up a floodgate for lawyers to look at people's cases now and say, yeah, we might could get some money out of that. We might could do that. Yeah, he did abuse you. Nobody really cared at first. But now they see that a lot of this stuff may have some truth to it.
May.
And the people can be paid for it. They're coming out.
Oh, yeah,
Puppy
this is
Flavor
it.
Camp?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead and play this. Watch
It's
it.
about
a minute, right? Yeah. Okay. Wait till the end, though.
To New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor.
He's
Camp.
13.
Yeah.
Flavor, right?
Go back
Yeah,
5
that's
seconds, please. Go back because what he called it right there is what's key. Go ahead.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn some-
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it was
Camp.
called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In
to
the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really.
Not really.
Hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was 13.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things
Yeah,
taking
that's
place.
called rape.
And I didn't necessarily understand.
When you're 13.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people
all
are
of
hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
your
Jodeci,
parents were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige.
Yeah, good
they
job.
knew nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
You're 13. Did you have to doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And what and do you have money?
How is that how is that normal at any time?
Do you have the part where they said, would you let your kids go there? He goes,
keep playing.
hell no.
Keep playing it, Rob, because I think it's at the end.
Yeah.
Per damn.
Yeah.
I had like,
Yeah,
like a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old.
That's
You're a
wild.
dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
Bingo.
Yeah,
What?
that's the thing. right? I
Concerning.
have kids. I don't even post. And then, the Twitter trolls will be, we're her kids. Well, I'm protecting them. And this is sad. I mean, this is sad. And this one with Bieber.
This is the
same
Bieber
thing.
one? Yeah.
Where are the parents?
Yeah, which parent would say, you know what? We don't know you. We know that you're a celebrity. Go and hang out with this guy for weeks on end by yourself and At what time, at what era is this cool?
In the most critical years, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. How is this, Alina?
They both.
Stacy Parenti, ask and ye shall receive. Everybody give a bunch of ones for Stacy Parenti. She has officially been christened with the wrench. She's a new moderator. Bunch of ones for Stacy, guys. Give it to her.
How is this normal?
They both turn into superstars.
Yeah,
that's the sacrifice you make.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the sacrifice. But one of them had to go to church and he freaking lost his mind. Can you play this one? How's this?
You ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
What the?
You know,
Yeah, gets that big black magic stick.
Been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship.
Can you imagine Usher's parents? They give this dude legal because they're so money hungry that they would allow this demon to have possession of their son. I mean, give me a bunch of ones if you think that's horrible, and give me a bunch of twos if you think it's great.
Of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and yeah,
Jesus.
and yeah.
Licking his lips, he's all happy.
Apparently, Diddy don't discriminate because his son was named in the sexual abuse lawsuit. And that can only mean one thing. He was grooming his own damn son, too. The question is, how far is his limit?
It's about Diddy, but now things seem to be expanding to include his son, Christian King Combs, lawsuit filed against Diddy's son. I'm going to go through some of it, but what is really striking is some of the crossover and similarity between this lawsuit and the lawsuit that was filed against Diddy by Lil Rod, filed against Diddy and Cuba Gooding Jr. So let's take a look at the lawsuit against
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Diddy's son.
Look,
the makeup.
If you guys want to be part of their club, you've got to engage in satanic ritual abuse. That's the point that I'm trying to make to all you guys, all right? If you want to be part of the Hollywood elites or the World Economic Forum, in my opinion, you've got to also engage in satanic ritual abuse. It's part of the initiation. It's part of the initiation. These are the people who run the news media. Harvey Weinstein, are you kidding me? These are the people who run entertainment. This is what it's all about. The guy who hired P Diddy, the Edomite who ran the record labels, was allegedly molesting P Diddy. And that's part of the deal. They bring him in and pass it down. That money is pretty hard to turn down, apparently.
And this involves allegations of something that happened on a rented yacht. The makeup of the yacht quickly evolved from just defendants Combs and his family to include a constant rotation of suspected sex workers and other A-list celebrities such as French Montana and actor Cuba Gooding Jr.
All of them.
Diddy turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment.
Island, they were all there. Oprah.
Now, if you go back to that lawsuit filed by Lil Rod, Lil Rod had said that Diddy had sex workers and endless drugs flowing through the recording sessions at CRS, Mr. Combs' homes, and on the yacht, which Mr. Combs rented. And you may recall that photo of Cuba Gooding Jr. and Lil Rod. This is from the yacht. But the yacht is also connected to this new lawsuit against Diddy's son. Now, it continues. Plaintiff found it very suspicious that after one shot of De Leon tequila or one mixed drink, various women on the yacht would be falling over themselves, panicking or passing out. This led plaintiff, the plaintiff is the person suing, to reasonably believe that the alcohol given to these women was likely laced with drugs. In the lawsuit filed by Lil Rod, according to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs forced all women to drink laced De Leon liquor. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy. So you can see, again, some of these similarities. Let's get back to that lawsuit. Upon entering the recording studio, defendant Combs immediately started ordering that tequila shots be poured. Plaintiff began to become concerned when he insisted that she take shots of tequila he may have brought on board the yacht. At this point, the mood changed and things became sinister. Defendant Combs insisted that the plaintiff stay chatting and that she sit beside him. Defendant Combs violently grabbed plaintiff's arm and began hurting her. He pulled plaintiff to the seat beside him and prevented her from getting up. The lawsuit includes photos of bruising. Let's take a look at those photos. Part of the lawsuit, part of the alleged evidence of what happened. Now, the lawsuit continues. Luckily for the plaintiff, due to defendant Combs' insistence on Mr. Jones recording everything, Mr. Jones has an audio recording of defendant Combs drugging and sexually assaulting the plaintiff. That's the allegation. Same thing in the lawsuit filed by Lil Rod. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly on several occasions. Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones' cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. So these allegations involve conduct, but not just conduct that is allegedly recorded.
So there you go. You guys got a chance to really check it out. And now we're going to get into the people who are the beneficiaries of this Luciferian system and who are, in my opinion, pushing it, the Godless Society. This guy is the right-hand man of Klaus Schwab, of, I believe, the Godless Satanic World Economic Forum, who work hand in hand with the Godless and Satanic United Nations. And these are the same people who lied to you, obviously, about our open border and about the Biden administration illegally flooding millions of illegal aliens into this country to usher in that one world government under these guys. Let's watch it.
But human rights are just like heaven and like God. It's just a fictional story that we've invented and spread around, but it's just a story. It's not a reality. The only place you find rights is in the fictional stories that humans have invented and spread around.
Wow. It's always great to be lectured to by some Western European with an accent about our rights and whether we even have rights. And you got to love the anti-religion angle on here too.
Always.
You know, just like the Bible and God. You know, why didn't he say the Quran and Muhammad?
Never.
And Allah.
That's who they want to replace this with, the moon god.
It's a fairy tale. And he couldn't say, you know, like the Sleeping Beauty or the Beauty and the Beast, the Sacre Bleu. No. It had to be the Bible.
The guy's actually Israeli.
Not the Quran, the Bible. You know, listen. He may be evil and an atheist, but he's not stupid.
Right. That's funny.
All right, so here's this guy's TED Talk, and it launches us into our larger conversation about all of the elites who just gathered in Davos to try to control your life. This dude, this guy, is the perfect example.
Scary.
Many, maybe most legal systems are based on this idea, this belief in human rights. But human rights are just like heaven and like God. It's just a fictional story that we've invented and spread around. It may be a very nice story. It may be a very attractive story. We want to believe it, but it's just a story. It's not a reality.
Story to him.
It is not a biological reality. Just as jellyfish and woodpeckers and ostriches have no rights, Homo sapiens have no rights also. Take a human, cut him open, look inside, you find their blood, and you find the heart and lungs and kidneys, but you don't find there any rights. The only place you find rights is in the fictional stories that humans have invented and spread around. And the same thing is also true in the political field. States and nations are also, like human rights and like God and like heaven, they too are just stories. A mountain is a reality. You can see it, you can touch it, you can even smell it. But
yet these are the same people who go to these sex parties, that go to Bohemian Grove, and worship Lucifer. Don't believe anything that these guys say. These guys are the enemy of freedom. They're the enemy of spirituality. They want to convince you that there is no afterlife, that there is no spiritual world, unless it's their own spiritual world of evil and demon-influenced secret religions.
Israel or the United States, they are just stories, very powerful stories, stories we might want to believe very much, but still they are just stories. You can't really see the United States. You cannot touch it.
Do you ever find yourself regretting that we saved their ass in World War II? I know I do.
This guy's Israeli, though.
Europe is really not real. It's just a story. So, learn German. This video, by the way, is from a dude named Yuval Harari. Harari. Is it Harari? Yuval Harari. European. He wrote a book called Sapiens and Homo Deus and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. And he's a very, very smart intellectual in Western Europe. He's the toast of the town at Davos and at all these big meetings. And it's no wonder that we have leaders who go there and listen to this drivel and then come back and sort of second guess whether people really do have rights.
Gavin Newsom, Justin Trudeau, even the Abbott guy down in Texas who keeps on busing people into blue states to help them get more representation through the census. They're all part of it, guys. Don't believe anything you see with your eyes. Look at the underpinnings and the deeper meaning to what they're doing. In the United States, the World Economic Forum, as well as the Communist Chinese and all of our enemies, recognize that the United States Census can be used to redistrict states. That's how, if California didn't have illegal aliens, they'd lose about 20, based upon my research, congressmen and senators. It would completely change the representation. These illegals don't even need to vote. The fact that we don't have voter ID just makes it all that much easier for the World Economic Forum to destroy this country by flooding the country with illegal aliens. And that's why I was tying everything together so you could see what the goal is and how they're going to achieve it at lightning speed.
And have the right to freedoms or right to exist for that matter. For his part, Jordan Peterson was having none of it. It's one of the most ill-informed set of propositions and pseudo-observations I ever heard. This is the best you can do? Yeah, the answer is that is the best he can do. But understand something. He's listened to by all of these elitists. If they don't want us to constantly refer to them as intellectual elitists who are trying to get together in a small room to create a cabal that controls the world to take away all our freedoms away from us, then maybe they shouldn't meet in rooms behind closed doors and come up with plans to listen to people like this and take all our freedoms away from us. That's exactly what they do.
That is exactly what they do. He's right. Now, I was going to show you the Diddy freak off thing, but let me see here. This one's only 11 minutes. I don't want to bore you guys too much. Let me see. We'll watch. Maybe we won't watch this one. You know what? It's getting kind of late, and I know I have to tutor my kids, guys. So let's watch this a couple more, and then we'll call it a night.
Some of the world's wealthiest figures are currently in the Swiss town of Davos for the World Economic Forum's meeting that started yesterday. Many online commentators have claimed that the event involves a group of elites manipulating global events for their own gain. According to AP, experts say what was once a conspiracy theory found throughout the internet's underground has now hit the mainstream.
The theme of the meeting in 2020 was called The Great Reset, which envisioned how changes could be implemented to build a more sustainable future. This theme has been referenced by many well-known names, including Fox News' Tucker Carlson and Sandy Hook denier Alex Jones, who largely view the plan as an elite conspiracy to consolidate world power and implement control over society. But Twitter Files journalist Michael Schellenberger tweeted yesterday, spokespersons for the World Economic Forum say the Great Reset, eating insects instead of meat, and you'll own nothing and be happy are conspiracy theories, but they're not. In fact, all of them originated at Davos and from the World Economic Forum's own website. Now, WEF is deleting those, of course. This article that was reportedly on the website in 2016 has since been deleted, says, welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been
worldwide communism.
I wanted to talk about this because, so this is getting the kind of mainstream media spin of, oh, look at all these people criticizing Davos and the World Economic.
This is what Hillary Clinton, Gavin Newsom, Barack Hussein, actually his name's Barry Soetoro, and Big Mike want for you. This is exactly what they want for you. Worldwide communism, where the fascist elite billionaires and millionaires and political class at the top control us little peasants because we're just simpletons and they have all the money and the power. And they also have Lucifer.
Forum, they're spreading misinformation and conspiracy theories. If you're upset about this, you are yourself a conspiracy theorist. It's all just conspiracies. And yes, if you get into the granular details, are some people saying things about the World Economic Forum, they're not representing its views correctly. I mean, it doesn't even have views. It is a gathering of heads of state and business leaders and influential people from all over the world who have a variety of different agendas and don't internally agree. So there's not one agenda they're putting forth. But some of the things they talk about in terms of environmentalism, in terms of state surveillance, state capacity, the kinds of governments run by these very people, what they'll be able to do to you, the kind of social credit score system, tracking, the kind of nudging. It's for your health. It's for your own good. It's a very kind of soft.
And they've convinced academia and the teachers unions that this is good. And your children are being exposed to this bullshit. That's why I highly support and recommend that all of you with parents, if you love your children, number one, you'll flee California. But number two, that you will homeschool your children. There's no reason why you would let your enemy rear your children. And these people are your enemy. I pledge allegiance to the American flag, not the rainbow flag. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with my philosophy. Look, I know a lot of you don't pledge allegiance to the flag or whatever. When I say I pledge allegiance to the American flag, what I'm saying is I support a constitutional republic, not a civil law, Roman civil law democracy filled with a bunch of these scumbags.
Dystopian progressive. Look, it's not, again, as I said last time we talked about this, some of these ideas might be fine, but it is also fine to be critical of it, to not like that you're not invited, that it's a secret meeting, semi-secret meeting of elites, and you might not like all these policies. Maybe they'll involve outsourcing and maybe they're too deferential to China's new hegemony, all that stuff. That is fine. It is not a conspiracy theory to object to that, to speak out against
not.
it.
And like, I think it is healthy for, look, I remember not so long ago living in a world where there was kind of more an open embrace of and almost admiration for a certain kind of elitism. Too. I think coming out of the Bush era and into the Obama era, there was this idea that we're going to leave like the dumb Neanderthals behind and that all the problems in the world could be solved by the right technocratic brain that went to Harvard and attended Davos, right? And that was part of the appeal of Obama. And I think the Obama years disabused a lot of people of the notion that that was going to be the fix. However, I think the part of it that's a little frustrating from a left perspective is, more people should be interrogating why it is that the kinds of solutions that are coming out of Davos do seem so dystopian for many of us. For those of us who believe that there is a climate crisis, who understand that there have been famines and droughts as a consequence of environmental change, and also because of war driving immigration.
It's amazing, they keep saying that the world is going to have the oceans rise, but all the billionaires are buying oceanfront properties. And if you look at a map over the last, 80 years, I'm still trying to see when the oceans are going to rise. I mean, Al Gore's got a nice gig for himself, right? Making a lot of money flying back and forth to these conferences, telling everybody the end of the world is coming, the sky is falling. But the only people the sky is falling on are us, because the way that they deal with this is to raise our taxes to allegedly, because humans think they can control the climate. One volcano does more to change the climate than hundreds of years of gas fumes, based upon my research. If you have information that's conflicting with that, please let me know.
Across the country, all kinds of displacements, a third of Pakistan underwater this year, wildfires in California, that these are things that are happening, whatever you want to attribute them to. Say, well, obviously we have to do some planning about how to maintain resources, how to grow enough food to feed the world and all these other kinds of things. The war in Ukraine obviously impacted grain supplies, et cetera. Now, why is it that the solutions always seem to be, we all eat bugs? Well, part of it is that the changes that would be more equitable and less severe for the broader public come at the expense of the very, very wealthy. Are you going to be able to graze endless endless rounds of beef so that all the people who eat a steak every day for lunch can continue to eat a steak every day for lunch. Or we're going to turn some of that pasture land into agricultural land so that the rest of us don't have to eat bugs. And these are the kind of trade-offs.
Guys, take a look at a map sometime. There are millions of acres of land where you can farm and have cattle. This girl here sounds like she went to a typical American university. She needs to go back into her safe space. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
That aren't being discussed in the pernicious motives of corporations and people who are very, very elite, who want to aggregate all of the wealth at the very, very top without making any sacrifices themselves, while we're all at the back of the Snowpiercer train eating bug gelatin. You know, that is the real problem here. And I hope that some of this stuff moves from
Customs.
Oh, it's just crunchy green liberals who want you to eat bugs. No, the people at that conference aren't crunchy green liberals. They're people who know that there's a limit on their economic oil investments because these are not infinite sources.
They have crunchy liberal social views and
well, even worse
enrich
than that.
me corporate economic.
Yes, I think that some of them don't even have those social views, but they do use those social views to launder their bad practices. And this has been happening with the weaponization of identity politics. This is happening by putting a woke flag on a lot of things that are really pernicious. But again, I don't think it's not the wokeness that's the problem. It's not Black people or trans people or gay people or anything that's the problem. It's people like this who exploit the existence of those groups and legitimate.
They created the wokeness problem. The whole woke idea is to divide us against each other, right? It's to convince little boys that they're girls, convince little girls that they're boys, convince society that white people are their enemy and they're oppressors. It's just a way to conquer and divide. It's basically Bolshevism, communism repackaged with a smiley face with a Klaus Schwab accent. Eat the bugs, eat the bugs. You'll own nothing and be happy, yeah?
Historical persecution that they've had to endure to launder a bunch of same old corporate practices. To that end, the charity organization Oxfam, which focuses on alleviating global poverty, made a plea to the leaders at Davos that the number of billionaires should be reduced by half by 2030 in a report titled Survival of the Richest. Twitter CEO Elon Musk weighed in on the WEF's plan to incorporate, quote, environmental, social, and governance criteria into its investment strategy, quipping that the S stands for Satanic. What do you make of this? Is it just a billionaire being big mad that billionaires have a target on their back, or does he have a point here?
I don't know why it's like satanic.
Why isn't it?
It's that is a kind of a type of criticism I see from some on the right that ought to impute to the elites that it's all like.
It's not right or left, guys. This is a spiritual battle between good and evil. There are two types of people in this world: those who want to be controlled and those who don't, essentially. Which one are you? Give me a bunch of ones if you're the type of person who wants to be controlled, and give me a bunch of twos if you're the kind of person who doesn't. It's that simple.
It's literal Satanism or literal, Hillary Clinton is, slipping down, right? Eating children, drinking the blood of children, that kind of thing. Like,
there's evidence of that.
Then people don't take you seriously when you say that, because that sounds crazy and is like 99% untrue. Of course, there was actually a Jeffrey Epstein cavorting with rich and powerful people and actually engaged in sex trafficking,
actually happening right now.
Every now and then,
it's her party that's leading the effort.
Well, that's too crazy. Your criticism that's too far out there is true. Every now and then it is true, but mostly no. So they're not, they're not sacrificing children in pagan rituals. They are discussing policies that.
What evidence does he have? I have circumstantial evidence and some direct evidence that they're doing exactly that. What evidence does he have? He sounds like that ABC News reporter. Well, there's no evidence of that because the city commissioner, the city manager who makes money renting apartments to these demons that are eating pets, allegedly, says, hey, nothing to see here. I'm getting millions in federal subsidies for my apartments. Nothing to see here. That's called biased evidence. We had this discussion the other night.
They think would be good for society and would especially be good for them and making more money for their corporations and enriching the.
That's right. Where are all the missing kids? Where are all the missing kids? Monica Warren's asking. So we have had whistleblowers testify before Congress. There's over 300,000 missing kids of illegal aliens that have been flooded into this country. Gee, I wonder where they are, guys. I wonder.
Governments represented, and we Some of those policies might be worth implementing, but we all get to decide. America is a democratic republic where we have a
America is not a democratic republic. America is a constitutional republic. And you'll hear academics say, oh, America is a democratic republic. So let's end this discussion, let's end this nonsense academic BS once and for all. Our founding fathers made it very clear that they thought that democracies were evil and that they were wicked. There's nothing in any of our founding documents that mention democracy. We are a constitutional republic where the government is supposed to be bound by the chains of the Constitution. Let's look at what Thomas Jefferson said. Thomas Jefferson said a democracy is nothing more than a mob rule where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49. Thomas Jefferson. John Adams, remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide. John Adams, okay? Let's keep going because this is crazy. I just can't believe that the press and these academics, how stupid they are, and they're brainwashing our children into thinking that majority should rule. That's evil to allow the majority to rule. And why is that? Why is that? Well, let's see what Benjamin Franklin had to say about it. It's evil because democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. Give me a bunch of ones right now, guys, for Ben Franklin. That is the most badass statement that I've ever heard when it comes to our republic. These guys had it right. Now let's look at the next one. Alexander Hamilton. We are a Republican government. Real liberty is never found in despotism or in the extremes of democracy. Bingo. Because our current government, especially the Biden administration, knows if they can flood our country with a bunch of peasants and give them free stuff, that eventually when they do get the right to vote, which is their ultimate goal, they're going to vote to strip you and I of our property. And that's exactly what Klaus Schwab wants to do. You will own nothing and you will be happy. And the WEF is funding all these guys like Trudeau, Abbott down in Texas, Gavin Screwsome. All these guys are part of the same club, guys. They're all part of the same club. And everything that they're doing is treasonous based upon my research. Absolutely. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree it's treason what these people are engaged in. And so we'll do, and I've got a bunch more memes to show you guys, but I want to just share a little, my one last video with you. Then I'll share the other memes and then we'll call it a night. So stay with me for another 15 or so. Let me see how long this video is. It's only 2 minutes. Yeah, I would say we'll be done in about 15 minutes, guys. Make sure to double tap the screen. And before we do that, real fast, if you guys want to support my channel and help me out and help my family out, a really great way to do that would be to get the digital version of my book, the digital version, not the soft cover that I have right here, but you could buy a digital version of my ebook called My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. It's $19.99. If you go to my YouTube page where the description is and you open it up, there's a PayPal link. If you could just please purchase a copy of my book, even if you don't want to read it, if you want to learn about how to become a lawyer without law school, how I found lawyers and judges to study under, and how I ultimately got accepted into a law school, how I ultimately became a lawyer, became a practicing lawyer with a bar card before I got a law degree. Read my book, because I'm telling you guys, people you need to believe in yourself. If I could do it, you could do it. I was just an entrepreneur, a blue collar guy, got disabled from the Marine Corps, ended up sleeping on park benches and doing whatever I could to figure out a way to do it. I made it happen. That's why I do believe in self-reliance. I do believe in that. But it was my Marine brothers also who were there for me. So you need to develop networks and parallel systems. You cannot rely on the great Leviathan if you believe in natural law. You have to find like-minded people who you like and trust and who you can believe in and who will believe in you. People like that news reporter would tell me all the time, you'll never become a lawyer. You have to go to a college and you have to go to Harvard in order to become a lawyer. And all I found when I went to law school is a bunch of radical freaking weirdos, a lot of them on the campus, who didn't even know that America was a republic. And even the professors didn't know. And I got to tell you guys, the best way to become a lawyer is to study under a lawyer. I tried 3 cases as a certified law student before I even passed the bar. And I believe that studying and doing is the way to do it. You learn by doing, not by reading from a book. Okay. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree with that philosophy. Now we'll go back and we'll watch this one video, and then I'll share some of my funny memes with you, and then we'll call it a night. Okay, guys?
Real problem. So let me just finally ask you, when
sure
Elon Musk, and you talked to him.
Good.
It was not a good investment for him or the bankers in Twitter. Is he still happy that he did that? And does he feel like he took one for the team? So he's he's not, he's getting a lot of backlash. Maybe people, I've seen on a Tesla, a bumper sticker that says, Elon, shut up. I've seen things like that.
If Elon hadn't bought Twitter, if Elon hadn't done this,
we'd be screwed.
The entire West would be at 10x the threat in terms of, our civilization works, Joe, because we have free speech, because we have
of Elon
property rights.
So he doesn't care about the $40 billion.
These basic values are at threat.
Yep.
And no, listen, X is up 25% or so year over year. It's up 25% year over year. The revenue's down, of course, because the brands all went at him, because the brands are run by people who are not tied to the values of Western civilization.
Yeah, but that's not a free speech argument. If the brands don't want to support you, they don't have to.
They're run by BlackRock, our enemy.
But there are people being sued right now who did illegal coordination to try to attack it.
That's right.
Which probably was illegal.
Is it illegal
It
to
was
say,
illegal.
I'm not going to put my ads there anymore, are you?
Listen to this commie
It's not
bitch.
illegal at all, but to coordinate behind the scenes with lies and to do something that's a cartel trying to crush something, that's not necessarily appropriate. And so I think that's going to come out in the courts, and we'll see what they did.
Okay.
So he's not thin-skinned and sensitive. I don't think at all.
He's fighting to save Western civilization. I think a lot of us are trying to do so as well.
He is.
Right.
This is a huge time for.
But I'm
for our
scared when I try to do it. I don't think he's scared. But and I'm thin-skinned.
Well,
Think
he's scared because he's part of the Leviathan.
Here in town, working on pager international supply chains and stuff. It's kind of fun.
Are you really?
No, that's a joke because of what happened.
Because
in
of what
Israel.
happened. Well,
But,
there are people who are saying it was Palantir involved with that.
I mean, if it was, we wouldn't be able to tell you. So
you'd have to kill us if you told us.
So that was pretty great. So we got a chance to, and I'm going to show you guys one more time because I got to show you this because there are so many academics and so many people who think that they're smart. And you even hear Elon say that we have to save democracy. He doesn't even understand. We're not a democracy. We never were intended to be a democracy. We're not a representative democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Democracy is 2 wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. We are a republican form of government. Liberty is never found in despotism. Liberty is never found in despotism or in the extremes of democracy. I mean, take it from the founding fathers, guys. Don't take it from me. Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide. Thomas Jefferson, a democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49. That's it. That's what they said. So were they lying? See, here's the problem. Somebody like Camel Toe Harris or Broom Hillary would say that our founding fathers are engaged in disinformation, right? And they need to be jailed. That's how bad it is, guys. These politicians are so bad, they'll take something that they know is true, they'll call it disinformation, they'll get Zuck to put a fact check label on it and silence you. And that's their goal, to silence anybody who disagrees with them. We did not vote for these inbred idiots, right, guys? We did not vote for them. So the world isn't getting worse or darker. The veil sheltering you from reality is lifting. And we can thank Elon Musk for that, because now we know from the Twitter files that the Biden administration had FBI and CIA agents on a revolving door employment scheme going back and forth from Twitter to their cushy government jobs. and silencing you. And they were taking orders directly from the Biden administration and from Democrats primarily to silence anybody who talked about the Hunter Biden laptop. That is disgusting to me. And these people have the audacity to say that people like me are engaged in disinformation. That is sickening to me. It should be sickening to you. Give me a bunch of ones if you think it's sickening. Now, this is an example of what we're facing now. Remember, our public education system was brought here by the Rockefellers from Prussia. The King of Prussia was devastated that he lost the war against Napoleon because everybody in his army rebelled against their officers and retreated. And so he needed to find a way to win and beat Napoleon. And so what did he do? The social engineers of his day created a public school system. And basically, public schools are the same thing as a jail. Look, now they've even got you going through metal detectors, and you have, and it's the bell rings, the Pavlov dog's response. That's the idea, to condition society to do what the government says. That is not what our founders intended for this country. It is not. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that our founding fathers had a better plan. And here's the ultimate outcome of what's been happening with the illegal alien invasion of our country that we now know from a whistleblower was hidden by President Biden on purpose to keep us from knowing that thugs and murderers and villains were flooding across our country. People like this, the president and CEO of the National Youth Advocate Program. She received $1.2 million, a social worker basically, right? From the government, our money. Well, not really money, Federal Reserve notes, to move 20,000 Haitians into rural Ohio. And that's why the people are so pissed. And now you have ABC deliberately covering up 911 tapes and taking a biased report from one of the people that she brought the Haitians to, the city manager who allegedly owns apartment complexes that he's renting to those very same Haitians that the neighbors complained about were eating their pets. So that's pretty wild if you ask me. Now, again, these are the demons involved with the can't say it. Oop, don't want to get in trouble. Now, let's take a look at this guy. Look at this goofball. Who is this guy? Agenda 21 is the New World Order. Agenda 21, 2030. So Agenda 21 was the original UN Agenda 21, where they thought that they were going to be able to take over the world, but they didn't make it by 21. So now they pushed it back to 2030. And this is why they're pushing so hard to make sure that Orange Man Bad doesn't get into office, because he definitely is not for the WEF. Love him or hate him, he doesn't support the World Economic Forum. He knows as well as you guys and I do that they're scum of the earth. Agenda 21 is reinvented as Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2050. It's an action plan devised by the United Nations, which we now know is in part controlled by Lucias, which is a Luciferian organization. And it was signed by 178 governments at the UN Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. It is a plan to depopulate 95% of the world population by 2030. And it is in full swing right now. And it's called sustainable development. And part of it, many people say, has to do with this. And unfortunately, I'm not allowed to say anything about that because I could, have problems and you'll never be able to see me again online. So I can't talk about it. And that's why a lot of people are moving to Patreon, and I probably will end up doing that too. Now, the next thing we got to look at here is this. Freedom isn't a reward for good behavior, guys. That's how prison works. Repeat after me in the sidebar. Freedom isn't a reward for good behavior. That's how prison works. Freedom isn't a reward for good behavior. That's what they're trying to do with their social credit system. If you say anything they disagree with, if you do anything that goes against the Great Leviathan, they'll take away your social credits. Google helped communist China build that system there, and they're using that system in Canada right now to destroy the freedom of truckers and people who believe in the right to bear arms and free speech. And it's happening in California right now at rocket speed. And it can only happen when you have a single party state, which California was able to achieve with illegal aliens becoming a sanctuary city and using the census to basically silence all of the other voters. And that's what happened, in my opinion. Now, we just found out that in Georgia, 19,000 ballots were counted from a single Zuckerberg ballot box over one weekend, but surveillance shows only 24 people dropping off ballots. We have not yet found a judge who will even allow the case to be heard. That's how bad the system has become. Are there any judges out there who support the Bill of Rights and the Constitution who will allow these cases to move forward? Somebody let me know, because so far we haven't seen one. And with that being said, guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And you know they want to take down this channel. Make sure to get a copy of my book if you can to help support me. Again, super chats and all that stuff is always appreciated. But more than anything, buy the memberships, guys. Buy memberships like Roger Lane did last night, so other people can become paid members and look at some of my stuff that I have hidden behind the closed doors of my channel. And if you guys have any, different ideas for shows you want me to do, let me know. I know I've sort of fallen away from doing a lot of the cop watcher shows the last couple of days. It's only because there have just been such amazing monumentally historic news out there that I really needed to cover. But I do plan on getting back onto the cop watch stuff and doing some good stuff, which is the original reason why I came here, because of Chile de Castro. So we'll get back on track on that in the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment, cop watching, and holding government officials accountable at the post office and all that. But hopefully you guys see that I'm a dynamic individual. And get a copy of my book, guys. It's only $19.99. It's not this softcover book. It'll be a digital version of this for $19.99. You go to my YouTube channel. In fact, really quick, I'm just going to share with you my YouTube channel. I'm going to show you so you can see with your own eyes. Make sure you see it. So if you go to my channel and you go right here where it says more, you just click on that. You scroll down. You see I got a link to my personal blog where I do my personal stuff, and then a link to the law firm that I work for. If you guys need a personal injury lawyer or something, that's where you'd find me. And then the PayPal link, $19.99. Get a copy. It'll definitely make my wife happy, because she does not like that I'm spending 2 and 3 hours a night with you guys. And then I'm going to go and tutor my kids right now. I really, really appreciate you guys joining me tonight. As you guys know, I am an inactive U.S. Marine, and I love my country more than anything. And I want you guys to also remember that I'm here for you. So I've had several people on the channel reach out to me with problems that they have. If you do need to get a hold of me, reach out to Rami. You can see him there in the chat. And I'll talk to him about it and verify whether or not I can help. And then I'll have Rami give you my contact information. I'll have him give you my cell. Okay. So if you guys have any problems, even if I'm not able to help you, you're in a different state, you have a different issue, I'll do my best to try and help you. I encourage all of you to form parallel systems. Stop shopping at Target. Don't let your kids near any of that demonic nonsense, all that fake advertising and all that brainwashing. I encourage you guys to develop parallel systems where you buy and sell to each other, where we opt out of the system, similar to how MLK boycotted the stores that boycotted black people. We need to treat each other as if we're MLK, because now we are the new minority. People like you and I who believe in freedom and individual rights, because of our government flooding our country with communists and peasants and people who hate us from other countries, we are now the minority in our own land. And the only way we're going to get any kind of freedom or rights anymore is to form parallel systems and help one another and love one another. I encourage all of you to love one another and not show any hate, even towards your enemies. Love your enemies and show them through your love and your graciousness that they're wrong, because we're all born knowing right from wrong in our hearts. And you need to recognize that, people. Don't show hatred and angst towards anyone. Always show love and kill them with kindness. And with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save. And oh, by the way, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, Monica Warren. Goodbye, Age Go. Thank you so much for showing up, Stacy Parenti. Thank you so much for showing up, Frugal Pigeoners. And thank you for the kind remarks. Frugal Pigeoner says that I'm a good man and we are not all perfect. And I know I'm not perfect. I mean, I'm covered with tats. I'm a jarhead. I've had I was a punk rocker. But at the end of the day, I realized that time is short and it's going to be over in an instant. And all you young people, remember that. Don't think you're going to live forever. Eventually, you're going to have some kind of one of your kidneys is going to go bad. You're going to have an enlarged prostate. It's going to happen. And when you're in that situation, no one's going to care about you unless you surround yourself with like-minded people who love you, spiritual people who care about you. And there can be found right here on this channel. And thank you so much. I just got a really cool super chat from Too Evil to Hope. He says, read Noam Chomsky's Manufactured Consent. Well, I'm not a big fan of Noam, but I'll read the book, definitely. And again, guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because you never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die. I'll try to do another show tonight, guys, but I'm a little behind on my case files, so I may have to do some work. But any of you guys who have ideas for future shows or legal questions for me that you want me to answer online, please reach out to Rami, and maybe Rami and I can put together a cool show for you guys next time. And make sure to like and subscribe to BZ Watchdog and Delete Laws 1984 as well. Great channels to watch to learn about the great Leviathan and how our public servants have become the master and have become an evil master. Semper Fi, do or die, guys. Take care. See you soon.